Shema Israel. Hope you enjoy this next study. My name's Dee. This is my wife, Millie.
So if you like what you see, subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if you wish to reach out to us, you can email us at devotedtoyah@gmail.com.
Oh, I wanted to go back to that John story, right? Let's go back there. Mark chapter 6, back here again, because this is the other, again, the gospel letters sometimes has the same story in different accounts. So here's the Mark version of Matthew chapter 14. So Herod enjoyed listening to him. An opportune day came when Herod, on his birthday, held a banquet for his nobles and military commanders and the leading people of Galilee. And when the daughter of Herodias herself came in and danced, she pleased Herod and his dinner guests. And the king said to the girl, "Ask me for whatever you want." Okay? Ask me for whatever you want. There goes the seduction. She's dancing, just like we read in the other passage. She's dancing before the people. You can imagine that this was a seductive dance. I think there's a lesson to be learned here in that. That's not something that holy women of God or men of God should be doing. We shouldn't be participating in promiscuous dancing. That is not something that we should be tampering with. You want to be seductive, you want to be promiscuous, you do it in the bedroom with your spouse that you're married to. That's about it. No boyfriends, no girlfriends, no engaged, whoever you're engaged to. There's no seduction, no promiscuity, none of that going on. Looking sexy and nice. None of that is for married people alone. But you can imagine that she's dancing not so loving, especially if she's doing it for multiple men. And she pleased Herod and his diner guests, you see? You ain't supposed to be pleasing nobody but your husband. And the king said to the girl, "Ask me for whatever you want, and I will give it to you." This is one thing you don't want to mess with. Don't make a vow that you're not willing to keep. Don't put your foot in your mouth. But this man let his you know what get to him. He was thinking with his you know what rather than thinking with his head and his spirit. He should have been listening to this voice that was convicting him when he was listening to John preaching. Everything was good until he got rebuked. Everybody likes the preacher that makes them feel good until they're put on the hot seat. Verse 23. And he swore to her. He swore. This, you don't mess with this. I swear I could give you everything. You don't do that. Whatever you ask of me, I will give it to you. Up to half of my kingdom. This dude is tripping. And she went out and said to her mother, "What shall I ask for?" Ah, you see, this we don't have in the Matthew account. There's more to the story. There's more to the story. That wasn't in Matthew's account. "Hey, ma, what should I ask for?" And she said, "The head of John the Baptist." Immediately she came in a hurry to the king and asked, saying, I want you to give me at once the head of John the Baptist on a platter. What wickedness! What wickedness! And although the king was very sorry, look at this, he was convicted. There's his conscience working again. Let's read about the conscience real quick. I'm just going off the fly right now. I'm going with the spirit. Let's see if this translation has the word conscience in it. Oh man, it shows up a lot. Look at this, is the one I wanted too. Right there, the first one. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verses 1 to 3, it says, but the Spirit explicitly says that in latter times some will fall away from the faith, paying attention to deceitful spirits like this woman, Herodias, and teachings of demons by means of the hypocrisy of liars, seared in their own conscience as with a branding iron. Some people iron their consciences, they burn it. They sear it so that it doesn't work as good as it's supposed to. How do you sear your conscience? I would imagine you sear your conscience by indulging yourself with more sin. And you numb your conscience. You suppress it. You don't let it do its job. You don't let it speak. It's so sad, man. This guy was feeling that. He was there. And although the king was very sorry, wasn't sorry enough. Because of his oaths and his diner guests, he was unwilling to refuse her. Immediately the king sent an executioner and commanded him to bring back his head. And he went and beheaded him in the prison, and brought his head on a platter and gave it to the girl. And the girl gave it to her mother. This is wicked, generational. When his disciples heard about this, they came and carried away his body. My. Can you imagine? And laid it in a tomb. What else do I want to touch on this story here? I think that's pretty much it. That's what happened in the story. You know, the way Matthew lays out stories is unique, but Mark has the other account, kind of fills it in a little bit. But what can we learn from this story? Stay away from immoral women. Stay away from pleasing men, man pleasers. I could find scriptures on that, because that's what this guy Herod is dealing with too. Oh yeah, I just looked up the word pleaser, and I just got luck, got fortunate, I'm trying a different translation, NASB. I like how it reads. Ephesians 6:6 in context. Slaves, be obedient to those who are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, in the sincerity of your heart as to Messiah, not by way of eye service, as people pleasers. Okay? Don't be a brown nose. Don't be a suck up. Okay? But as slaves or servants of Messiah, doing the will of God from the heart. Don't be shisty. Don't step on people. Don't stab people in the back just so you can get elevated and you want to impress your boss. That's not what being a servant of Messiah is about. We serve in humility. We do our job because we care. And I live by this principle, and thank God I live by this principle. Thank God these principles were implanted in me from a young age. I finally have seen the fruit of that in my career. Finally. Nonetheless, don't be people pleasers. What else do we have with this passage? Colossians chapter 3, verse 21 to 22. Fathers, do not antagonize your children so that they will not become discouraged. Slaves, obey those who are your human masters in everything. Obviously not in sin. Don't obey them in sin. You don't want to do the wrong stuff. not with eye service as people pleasers, but with sincerity of heart, fearing Yahuwah. Whatever you do, do your work heartedly, as for Yahuwah and not for people. Okay? It's all about shifting your mindset, right? I'm doing things because I want to make my family happy. If making your family happy is your top priority, you got your priorities wrong and you messed up. The commandments are this. The most important commandment is to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and then love your neighbor as yourself. Okay? When you have man first, you're a people pleaser. It makes a lot of sense for people who don't worship God and don't serve God. It's very easy to be a man pleaser, a self pleaser, pleasing yourself. But anyway, these are things we want to stay away from. Um,